Radio Gaga.
What does local consent look like, Prime Minister?
Well,
Money for nothing.
What happens if the pound continues to slide like that?
And the winner takes it all.
Public support for the Tories slumping to its lowest level since the late 1990s.
These are the interesting times. Hello everybody, my name's Matt Johnson and welcome to The Interesting Times, a show that likes to take a sideways swipe at politics right here in the UK. Now, before we begin, I have to make an apology to this guy. It appears I've been pronouncing his name wrong.
What about the position of the Chancellor now?
No, I like Kwasi Kwarteng.
Actually, that makes sense. And I've clearly mispronounced the Prime Minister's name wrong too, which should be Liz Truss. So, what a week it's been for the Tories.
Charles Walker, Conservative MP, joins me now. This is terrible, isn't it?
Yes, it's really very, very bad, isn't it?
Your colleagues, MPs, some ministers seem pretty gripped by how awful it is. Do you think the Prime Minister gets it?
I hope so. It would be difficult not to get it, wouldn't it?
Difficult, but not impossible. On Thursday, following last Friday's mini-budget balls-up, Liz Truss went on local radio stations to assure the great British public that this was all going to plan. But, bearing in mind it's been 5 days since the collapse of the pound and there have been more sightings of a UFO being piloted by Bigfoot than the Prime Minister, the first question had to be...
Where have you been?
Clearly drafting a standard response to this and indeed other opening questions.
And Lydia says, are you ashamed of what you've done? Are you?
I think we have to remember what situation this country was facing. We have to remember why that is. It's because of Putin's appalling war in Ukraine. Because of the war that Vladimir Putin has perpetrated in Ukraine. This is about Putin and the war in Ukraine.
There was also some awkwardly long pauses.
Where have you been?
Nonsensical answers.
She'll be the fourth health secretary to have visited. So when is it going to happen?
She will be the one that delivers.
Why can't you tell us this morning there won't be a return to fracking in Lancashire?
Well, I don't accept the premise of your question. It's also about how we grow the size of the pie.
And incorrect information as Liz Truss ran down the clock and spun out her answers to last as long as possible, like they were being given on a premium rate phone line, and employed the most effective weapon she has in her arsenal: silence.
By borrowing more and putting our mortgages up.
We need to borrow more this winter.
We're going to spend more in mortgage fees under what you've done based on the predictions than we would have saved with energy.
I don't think...
And then, sitting in the passenger seat but still giving directions in this particular car crash, was the Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, the fiscal genius who came up with a foolproof plan of paying for more stuff by borrowing more money, has now proved that that wasn't a fluke by considering cutting some money from government spending by cutting government spending. And in fact, the Treasury has written to all government departments about making efficiency cuts, which will be quite a task, as you can imagine. They will include things like benefits for the poor, nurses, police and government-funded pensions. But will they also include... No, I don't think so. Certainly not. And come on now, let's not be silly. And for a man who got a PhD in economic history, Kwasi seems worryingly nonchalant about repeating it. The Tories have already scrapped the capping of bankers' bonuses, which was brought in to stop a repeat of the 2008 financial crash. And then, if that wasn't bad enough, last week, MP for Arundel and South Downs and heartless Montgomery Burns, Andrew Griffith, went on GB News to, I'm going to go with, reassure people?
I see a storm that started with that fiscal statement last Friday. Do you not take responsibility for that?
No, we both know that we're seeing the same impacts of Putin's war in Ukraine.
Do you have any plans to change your plans that you laid out on Friday?
Is our inability to reach that top 2.5% rate of growth. It's happened in the past. It happened before the 2008 financial crisis.
So that's the plan? You're going to repeat 2008 and try and get elected again after spending the next 2 years blaming Labour for the state of the economy? Yes, Putin hasn't helped matters, but everybody thinks this mini budget was a bad idea. Well, Nearly everybody. Step forward professional grifter and vampire toad, Nigel Farage.
The pound plunging, mind you, it was falling already. Gilt's in big trouble.
Let's be honest, Gilt and in big trouble could be on this guy's Tinder page.
Kwarteng was right to cut taxes. Of course he was right. Right to set up investment zone. So don't buy the narrative, don't buy what mainstream media, don't buy what global institutions are telling you.
Don't buy financial products or indeed snake oil from this guy. Now, I've changed the publication day for this show from Wednesday to Thursday because things seem to move a bit too quickly during the week to keep up. Case in point, on the last show we spoke about Labour having a 13-point lead in the polls, but that was Wednesday. And things have moved on since then. In fact, on Thursday, a YouGov poll was produced showing Labour having a 33-point lead over the Tories. The largest since the late 90s. And we all know what happened then. Things are so bad, even the phrase of Prime Minister Liz Truss seems to just sound wrong. Like Deputy Prime Minister Lady Gaga or Secretary of State for Health and Social Care Therese Coffey. With the cost of living crisis, 12 years of Conservative rule that has seen an ever-widening gap between the rich and the poor, interest rates going up and the pound going down, people are, to put it mildly, a little fed up. And yesterday saw mass gatherings by the protest group Enough is Enough. These were held all over the country in places like Glasgow, Newcastle, Cardiff, Manchester, Liverpool and of course London, where Senior Assistant General Secretary of the RMT and socialist bouncer Eddie Dempsey took an opportunity to address the crowds with the help of someone in the front row providing a sound effect with some rather unfortunate results.
This is for our children, the ones we're worried about feeding and having educated. This is for the old people, worried about whether they can pay the bills and stay warm this winter.
Although it does sound like he's giving his opinion on this government from both ends. And that's it. No Times is all about something happening this evening. What was it? Oh, that's right.
The Conservative Party conference this weekend is going to be electric, isn't it?
Well, to be fair, they're the only ones left in the country that can afford the bill. No time to talk about Labour MP Rupert Huck calling Kwasi Kwarteng superficially black, a comment that has brought widespread condemnation from both Tories and Labour. Rupert has since apologised for her comments and she's been suspended from the party while there's an investigation. So that would have been that, except that yesterday the Mirror tweeted an article about Kwasi Kwarteng tanking the economy under a picture of a black man in a suit who wasn't Kwasi Kwarteng. The Chancellor then tweeted this rather frankly obvious mistake, which was made all the worse by putting it under a banner celebrating black history. Still, let's be honest, you can't blame people for getting senior Tories mixed up. I mean, she thinks she's Margaret Thatcher, he thinks he's Churchill, she thinks she's the dancing queen, celebrity, super army soldier, barren poverty basher of the Brexit uplands, and she thinks she's a human being, so we all make mistakes. No time to talk about the fact that Putin has annexed 4 regions in Ukraine by driving tanks in them and sending armed soldiers to go door to door to see if people wanted to be Russian or not. A case of bullet or ballot. Still, Putin meddling in referendums outside of his country? Surely not. No time to talk about COVID cases on the rise in the UK as winter approaches. Is that it then? You know it's the run-up to Christmas, not by seeing toys in the shop window or adverts on TV. It'll be someone coughing on the bus. Thank you for watching, and if you are enjoying these vids, then please don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit all the notifications bell, and I'll see you all next Sunday. Take care.